Hello, it's Lars from Leader Insider, and welcome to the second episode of the Golden Nuggets. I'm going to share about the the most crucial things I read in the books I've read. So to explain it once more, but in shorter terms, if I digest books, I personally go through them 4 times. And every time I get through them, I mark those most interesting passages. So I remember and repeat the most crucial information for me personally in a book. And this is my art of sharing what I read and what those what the greatest things are I'm reading right now. And today I'm showing you Man's Search for Meaning from Viktor E. Frankl. Viktor E. Frankl is a Jew, and he was in Auschwitz for like 3 years. And he's also a psychologist, a practical psychologist. And he shared in his book his view about his professional view about what happened in these concentration camps, and what he found out was really interesting. So these are the greatest things I'm going to share right now. So let's get started. But no man can tell another what this purpose is. Each must find out for himself. So, uh, uh, who am I who tell you what to do? This is one of the worst things an adult can do to his kids, because you don't know what your kid wants to do. And who am I to tell you what to do? You need to find it yourself. It's really interesting because John Peterson has its own point of view about it, and he writes in his book that you don't choose what interests you, it chooses you. So I I cannot tell you what to do. You only need to do it. You only know what what purpose you have on your own. Frankl is fond of quoting Nietzsche: "He who has a why to live can be there with almost anyhow." So this is also one of my favorite quotes because it's just so true. If you know your why, if you know why you're doing something, it gets much easier. Think about it. I know why I'm going on a date with this significant person, because I want them to really feel appreciated and want them to really notice that I love this person. But if I just go on a date for the sake of having a date, it's much harder. And if I don't even like this person and just say, hey, let's just spend time together, I'm not there fully. So you'll notice that sometimes I'm sliding through books and sometimes I have everything marked on one side. This is another great marker if a book is really insightful for my life right now, or if it's just good to read. Dostoevsky's statement that flatly defines man as a being who can get used to anything, we would reply, yes, a man can get used to anything, but do not ask us how. So this is a really interesting quote if you imagine that he's in Auschwitz and is having these thoughts himself. So yes, we can get used to everything and anything, like being beaten up every day. But how? This is a whole nother level of question we need to ask ourselves. How can we even be capable of going through such horrible things? If my lack of emotion had not surprised me for the standpoint of my professional interest, I would not remember this incident now because there was so little feeling involved in it. So Victor talked about an incident that a man's corpse needed to be dragged into another place, and his head bumped like all the times, and just they were just getting by and just doing it, and most of the people he was talking to after this horrible time in their life, they couldn't remember much, not because they just locked these experiences up. It's because they got numb. They didn't feel anything because not feeling was more pleasurable than feeling anything. I certainly have this, or had this problem, that I locked myself up to negative emotion. What's the worst part of it? If I lock myself up in one direction, I also lock myself up in the other direction for these positive emotions. And then you get numb, and you feel nothing. And if you feel nothing, you won't remember anything, because information with emotions are powerfully retained. And he is telling here, I personally believe the truth that because there was no feeling, the only feeling he was from a professional standpoint. This is the only reason he remembered this incident. Other people would otherwise forget it. So yeah, those feelings we link up to an experiences let us re-experience, let us remember those experiences. What did the prisoner dream about most frequently? Of bread, cake, cigarettes, and nice warm baths. The lack of having these simple desires satisfied led him to seek the wish fulfillment in dreams. So this is really interesting from another standpoint. If I think about it and use it in our actual world, we think and dream about such high level shit. We dream about only working from home, living everywhere, and doing all this stuff because these basic desires are satisfied. If they won't be satisfied, those would be our dreams. So we have unlimited desires, and once we fulfill our desires, fulfill our dreams, once we go out there and make it happen, everything we desire will start to manifest on a higher order. If I'm not even getting the desire of bread, of a warm bath, of cleanliness, this is all my brain could capitalize on. So to raising the standard of our being, this is what really desire is for. I may give the impression that the human being is completely and unavoidably influenced by his surroundings. In this case, the surroundings being the unique structure of camp life, which forced the prisoner to conform his conduct to a certain set of patterns. But what about human liberty? So, this is just a lead up to the next quote. The next quote is the thing I most likely cite in when I talk about people when they are just saying, "Oh my God, my life is so hard. My life is so hard." I most certainly no. The only thing you need to remember is to contrast it. Your lack of contrast is what makes your life really hard. So this is one of the most eye-opening quote to have in context of this man. You just imagine you're in Auschwitz for like 2 or 3 years you were there, and then you write this quote. This is the thing I would say is the most important thing about this book I have, and what we need to think about is that he really saw like people dying, people getting shot. Every day he was like, do I live for another day? His thought. And then he became curious during this camp. He became curious about what is the denominating factor on people who die and people who will live on. And this is the denominating factor. They may have been few in number, but they offer sufficient proof that everything can be taken from man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. Any man can even under such circumstances decide what shall become of him mentally and spiritually. So, if you think about it, mentally and spiritually, you decide. And those people who died decided to break upon this thing. There were two decisions you could undertake. You can either give up spiritually and mentally, or you can tell it's my mission to move on. It's my mission to survive this camp, and it's my mission that such thing will never happen again. A man who could not see the end of his provisional existence was not able to aim at an ultimate goal in life. So death is one of the greatest teachers of us all. You have to hold yourself up that you have only limited time here on planet Earth. And what you do with it, what you do with your mind and with your soul, what you decide upon, is going to lead up either to have a fulfilled and happy life or a worse life than Yes, the life of us at the end, a life can only be two things: a warning or an inspiration. What will you want your life to be end up on your deathbed? And how can you act upon that it's like how you want it to be remembered? Our answers must consist not in talk and meditation, but in right action and in right conduct. Life ultimately means taking the responsibility to find the right answers to its problems and to fulfill the tasks which it constantly sets for each individual. So this is one thing I'm speaking about really much, that you walk your talk, that you practice what you preach. You don't ever say something and only by saying it, things won't get better, but by actually doing those things you said once you will do, by acting upon your knowledge. This is when your life will change. If I have all the knowledge in this whole universe, in this whole world, and I'm just lying down in bed and watching soap operas the whole freaking day, am I powerful? Do I have any power? Or if I'm just the greatest salesman alive and I'm utilizing this skill to really create a fortune for my family, would you say this is a powerful person? No situation repeats itself, and each situation calls for different response. The first part of the quote, that no situation repeats itself, can be somehow misguiding. No situation really repeats itself. Every situation is unique. But if we look into our history does not repeat itself, but it rhymes. Because most of the times we human beings have similar problems. It's like the cycle of history. Good times create weak people. Weak people create bad times. Bad times create strong people. And strong people create good times. It rhymes. And each situation calls for a different response. So if in the one context someone says anything, it's like with your woman, or if you're a woman, the context and the words you say could be the same, but in a different context, they might mean a whole nother thing. If your girl says, no, don't do it, no, or in a loving context, it's much more different. Like if you're in front of a lawyer, in front of and someone reads what she said, no, please, no, don't do it, no. Like the meaning, the context changes, and so our words stay the same, but the meaning is a different one. He who knows the why for his existence and will be able to be almost anyhow. This is like before before mentioned in the book what Nietzsche said, and this is really interesting. If you notice to read some passages several times in the book, mark them up, because they are much more important than anything else. If you notice that I'm repeating myself, get excited, because this is the thing, that this knowledge is really knowledgeable, and not only knowledgeable because otherwise I wouldn't repeat myself, because this knowledge is something you should or you must do in your life right now. What's your why? But you also mentioned that what may have been the real reason for the deaths, giving up hope. So whatever we had gone through could still be an asset to us in the future. And quoted from Nietzsche in German: Was mich nicht umbringt, macht mich stärker. What does not kill me makes me stronger. So if you give up hope on anything, you won't, you give up. You die. And in the camps, he noticed it. Like on every soul who died, they gave up hope first. And this is a belief that we need to manifest even as leaders, even when we're right now having a really hard time. For me, it's like the first time we found it is we're broke right now. I don't know how I should live on, and it's so much uncertainty, and right now I'm really having problems. I don't know how I should pay for food, should pay the rent, and it's really horrible. But because of this belief system that I think, hey, whatever I go through can be an asset in the future, because I really think, hey, going through this will get me really to understand, to figure out a way to make it the way I want it, because I'm not giving up hope that it can get better. What doesn't kill me makes me stronger. Yeah, it's like, this is one of my favorite, I'm actually German, and this is one of my favorite quotes: Was mich nicht umbringt, macht mich stärker. And this is a really deep saying, and this is, I think, one of the most prominent things why we German have why we're valued so highly in the world for having such high standards. Nothing kills us most of the time, and having such a high standard won't kill me, but it makes me stronger. And I quoted a poet to avoid sounding like a preacher myself, who had written: Was du erlebst, kann keine Macht der Welt dir rauben. What you have experienced, no power on earth can take from you. So every experience, you might lose your money, you might lose love people, you might lose friends, but the experience you went through, and to see the bitter truth in those experiences, and to really see the root cause of the problem, and identify and solve it once and for all. This is what no one ever can take from you. From all this, we may learn that there are two races of men in this world, but only these two, the race of the decent man and the race of the indecent man. So we need to think about it. He's telling that there are two kind of men, decent and indecent. Men who do righteous things and men who do unrighteous things. We all think about us as righteous, otherwise you wouldn't be here so long on this YouTube channel, in this video. And I really think that we're here to serve, to be righteous, and to really get a hold on this indecency of men that are taking our world right now. Man, however, is able to live and even to die for the sake of his ideals and values. So if you're really committed, if you really have an ideal and your values and everything's aligned, and you say, this is the thing I really want to do, I really want to accomplish, there might be a possibility that you will go after it no matter what another person says, do, or thinks. You just know. Most people struggle. They say, oh, this is not really good, and you can't possibly know that if it will work out. Yeah, I can't know, but God gave me a knowing. What men actually need is not a tensionless state, but rather the striving and struggling for a worthwhile goal, a freely chosen task. It's like an old Bible quote: momentum carries with it power, inertia binds you to stagnation. So when we think about it, if I don't do anything, I just get by and start losing a life. Have you ever chilled one day? I certainly do, in bed and did nothing because it was so overwhelming, and at the end of the day you thought like, okay, I need to recharge myself, and then at the end of the day you were like even more down than before. It's because you have no constraints. Pressure is how diamonds are made, and to make yourself a diamond, you need to put pressure upon yourself. Man should not ask what the meaning of his life is, but rather he must recognize that it is he who is asked. In a word, each man is questioned by life, and he can only answer to life by answering for his own life. The life he can only respond by being responsible. This is a really great lead up to a quote I'm really excited that will come soon. I will let it uncommented here. Think for your part. Sex is a way of expressing the experience of that ultimate togetherness, which is called love. At any moment, man must decide, for the better or worse, what will be the monument of his existence. In any given moment of time, we get to decide what things mean, how to act, and what to focus on. First, decide on your focus. Then decide what it should mean, those horrible or those great things that happened in your life. And then decide what to act upon this meaning. If you're having date night with your spouse, and you're there waiting at the restaurant, and your spouse is late, your significant other, whatever you might call it, and he or she is like 5 minutes late, and your focus is on what they're doing. They are always late, and they are 20 minutes and 30 minutes late, and after 45 minutes you just got scrambled. You thought they're so worse, they are the worst. You focused on bad things. Then you did the unexplicable. You got furious. You created emotion about anger, and what to do was a simple thing. Once they finally were there, you unleash upon them and say, what should this be? Why were you like, don't you have any respect of mine? But on the other hand, if your spouse is late and the first thought you have is, are they in an accident? Oh my God, maybe something happened. And because of this, after 30 minutes, they came into the restaurant to your date, and you were like really happy that nothing happened to them and greeted them really lovingly. So only one thought can make a difference in your whole behavior towards another person. The fact that the organism provides itself by itself with the minimum amount of sleep really needed. So think about it. If evolution, when we are asleep, we are really easily threatened, harmed by anything. So if evolution could have made the possibility to get rid of sleep, it would have. And it's normal then to have 6 to 8 hours of sleep. Most ideally, what I do personally, I don't have an alarm clock. I went to bed when I'm tired, most likely about 10 o'clock, and then I wake up. I'm really a morning person, so I wake up early in the mornings, like between 4 and 5:30, and without even an alarm clock. This is the most relaxing thing I could do, and sometimes I sleep longer, but whatever is natural to write. Simple question. When you're on a lonely island, no electricity, nothing around, when would you go to sleep? And when would you wake up? Huh? Dumb question. When it's dark outside, and I would stand up, wake up when I could see again. Man does not simply exist, but always decide what his existence will be, what he will become in the next moment. This is another thing, that decisions shape everything we do from moment to moment. If I break in, if I did not follow through, it's not the end all. The only impossible goal to achieve is the one you give up upon. Yes. So basically, this is one thing, man. So once again, when we speak about man, we speak from the human species, men and women. So so this is the one thing man is really capable of, what no other animal is capable of, to decide anew, to say, no more hour, no more minute, no more second, I'm going to end it forever right now. A human being is not one thing among others. Things determine each other, but man is ultimately self-determining. This is what we were talking about. Your decisions shape everything and anything in your existence. And this was, we're not done yet. But man is ultimately self-determining. What he becomes within the limits of endowment and environment he has made out of himself. So most people blame their environment, that, oh, if my wife, if my man would act differently, I would be much greater shape. I Oh, because of the environment, because the sugar industry is so much about our nerves. I can't change. Oh, because of metabolism, because of this, I can change. No. You create the environment you're in. So start creating how you want it to be. And this was Man's Search for Meaning, my golden nuggets about this book. If you like this video, I would really appreciate if you give me a thumbs up, a like, and see you soon.